Welcome to our deep dive. We're going to be exploring some fascinating ideas from the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Oh, yeah.
It's considered a spiritual guide by many and offers a path to happiness and love, rooted in that ancient Toltec wisdom.
Yeah.
Our goal today is to break down those four agreements and to see how they apply to your life and your relationships.
It's resonated with so many people over the years because it really digs into that universal desire for peace and connection, you know?
Absolutely. And Ruiz dives into how we create so much of our own suffering,
Right.
starting with this idea of the dream of the planet. What exactly does he mean by that?
Well, it's like we aren't just living in the world, but we're also living in this shared dream
Oh, wow.
that's shaped by all the rules and beliefs and expectations that society has kind of built up over time.
So it's like we're born into this pre-existing story,
Yeah, exactly.
and we just learn to play our parts without even questioning it.
Without even questioning it. Ruiz calls this domestication, how we're essentially trained from childhood
Wow.
to fit into this dream, and that shapes how we see the world around us.
Oh,
He uses the analogy of a smoky mirror to describe how we see ourselves reflected in other people.
I like where this is going. It's like we're all looking in the mirror, but there's this distortion keeping us from seeing clearly.
Precisely. That fog is made up of those misinterpretations and assumptions
Yeah.
and all the baggage we carry.
It's like we're all connected.
Right.
But this mental cloud keeps us from truly recognizing that.
That shared essence.
You know, it's funny because that smoky mirror analogy
Yeah.
really makes me think about those times you misinterpret a text from a friend
Right.
and get worked up,
Totally.
only to find out later they meant something totally different.
Exactly.
Yeah, our own fears and insecurities really do cloud our perception.
Yeah. And that ties into another key concept from the book Mitoti.
Mitoti, what is that?
Think of it as that constant mental chatter.
Okay.
All those conflicting thoughts and beliefs just swirling around in our heads. It's like background noise that keeps us from seeing our true nature and fuels that self-doubt
Oh, okay.
and judgment.
Yeah. So we've got this dream of the planet, we've got this smoky mirror distorting our perceptions, and mitoti clouding our minds.
Right.
No wonder we get things wrong.
And this is exactly the backdrop for which Ruiz introduces the Four Agreements
Yeah.
as a way to break free from those limitations,
Okay.
a way to reclaim your personal power,
Yeah.
find a new path.
It's like a toolbox
Yeah.
for living with more awareness and intention.
Totally.
All right, let's get into those agreements.
Okay.
The first one, be impeccable with your word.
Right.
I think a lot of us have had that aha moment when we realize the power of words to build up or tear down.
Ruiz really drives that point home with the story of a woman
Yeah.
who casually tells her daughter she has an ugly voice, and it ends up having this lasting impact on the little girl.
You know, that story really makes you think about those offhand comments we might make without realizing the weight they carry.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder to be more mindful,
Of our words.
us to others and ourselves.
Exactly. Being impeccable with your word isn't just about being polite.
Uh-huh.
It's about recognizing that our words have the power to create.
Right.
They can uplift and inspire,
Yeah.
or they can wound and tear down. It's about choosing to speak with intention,
And coming from a place of truth.
truth, and love.
Yeah. What strikes me is how this applies to our internal dialogue as well.
Absolutely.
We're constantly talking to ourselves, and those words shape our reality too.
If you're constantly telling yourself you're not good enough,
Right.
or that you'll never achieve your goals, you're essentially creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
The second agreement, don't take anything personally,
Yeah.
which I think is probably one of the toughest to put into practice. What are your thoughts on the most challenging part of this agreement?
It's about recognizing that other people's actions
Okay.
and opinions often have very little to do with us
Right.
and everything to do with their own beliefs and experiences.
Okay.
Everyone is living in their own version of the dream,
Yeah.
shaped by their unique programming.
Mm.
So when someone says or does something that hurts you, it's more a reflection of their internal state
Right.
than a comment on your worth.
I see how this ties back into the smoky mirror idea.
Uh-huh.
We all have these filters we're seeing the world through.
You do.
So when someone cuts you off in traffic, it's probably more about their own stress
Right.
and less about any personal vendetta against you.
Exactly. When we take things personally, we're giving away our power and letting someone else dictate our emotional state.
And it creates so much unnecessary drama and suffering.
It's like getting hooked by their emotional bait.
That's an image that will stick with me.
Yeah.
So how do we actually stop taking things personally? It feels so natural to get defensive.
It's a practice,
Right.
a process of shifting your perspective.
Yeah.
It starts with awareness.
Okay.
Noticing those moments when you're getting hooked by someone else's emotions or opinions.
Right.
From there, it's reminding yourself that their actions aren't about you. They're a
Okay.
reflection of their own internal world,
Yeah.
their own toes swirling around.
So rather than making it about me,
Yeah,
I can take a step back and remember they're probably dealing with their own stuff. That's a
exactly.
more compassionate way to approach things.
It is, and a more empowering one, because you're choosing how to respond, rather than just reacting automatically.
Okay. So we've talked about being impeccable with our word and not taking things personally.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the third agreement. Don't make assumptions.
Ooh, assumptions.
I have a feeling we all do this way more than we realize.
Assumptions are a breeding ground for misunderstandings and conflict.
Right.
Ruiz encourages us to question our assumptions. Communicate clearly and seek clarification instead of jumping to conclusions.
I love how he uses the example of someone smiling at you at the mall and your mind instantly conjures up this whole fantasy relationship.
Right.
It illustrates how we often create elaborate narratives in our heads
Yes.
based on the smallest bit of information.
Yeah.
And those assumptions can lead to disappointment or even conflict. It's like
Okay.
we're filling in the blanks with our fears and desires instead of getting the facts.
So much of it comes back to being present,
Yeah.
paying attention to what's actually happening, and seeking to understand rather than assuming you already know.
So don't make assumptions, get curious, and ask questions.
Ask questions. Yeah.
Now, the fourth agreement is always do your best, which at first glance might seem like fairly standard advice.
Yeah.
But what makes this agreement so profound?
Well, it's about understanding that doing your best doesn't mean striving for perfection
Right.
or pushing yourself beyond your limits.
Okay.
It's about showing up fully, whatever that looks like in a given moment, and releasing that need to judge or compare yourself to others.
So it's more about aligning your actions with your values and enjoying the process
Yeah.
rather than beating yourself up.
For not being perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly. And recognizing that your best will vary from day to day depending on your energy, circumstances, and so on.
Ruiz shares that great story of the man who asks the Buddhist master how long it will take to reach enlightenment through meditation.
Oh, yeah.
And the master's response is, you are not here to sacrifice your joy or your life.
I love that.
It's about finding that sweet spot between effort and ease,
Right.
pushing yourself to grow
Yeah.
while also honoring your limitations.
Honoring your limitations. Exactly.
You know, I used to be so hard on myself if I had a day where I just couldn't be productive.
Yeah.
But now I try to remember this agreement and offer myself some grace.
That's a great way to apply it.
Yeah.
Self-compassion is so important.
Yeah.
Especially when we're facing challenges.
Okay, so we've covered the 4 agreements.
We have.
Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. And always do your best.
Yes.
Ruiz presents them as a path to breaking free from those limitations of the dream of the planet. But there's more, right? He takes it a step further.
He does. He talks about this deeper journey.
Okay.
This Toltec path to freedom.
Let's dive into that. Where does this path lead? What does it look like?
Well, Ruiz introduces this concept of the parasite.
Okay.
And I know that might sound a little strange.
Yeah, it caught me off guard too the first time I read it.
But it's actually a brilliant metaphor.
Okay.
He's describing this internal battle we all face.
Okay.
The parasite represents the judge, the victim, that whole belief system that feeds on your fears and keeps you stuck in suffering.
It's like we have these negative voices
Exactly.
constantly whispering doubts and undermining our sense of self-worth.
Exactly. And those voices are part of what keeps us trapped in the dream of the planet. But the good news is that we can fight back.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How do we overcome this parasite and break free?
Well, Ruiz emphasizes that awareness is the first step.
Okay.
We need to recognize the presence of those internal voices
Yeah.
and see how they're influencing our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. From there, we can choose to rebel against them,
Okay.
challenge their authority,
Right.
and reclaim our power.
So it's about becoming conscious of those negative patterns and then making a deliberate choice to shift them.
Exactly.
This all feels very empowering. Like we actually have a say in how we experience the world.
And that's really the core message here.
Yeah.
You have more power than you realize.
Yeah.
You can choose to wake up from the dream of the planet
Right.
and create a new reality for yourself.
This is fascinating stuff.
It is.
We're going to need a whole other episode just to unpack the rest of this Toltec path to freedom.
Definitely. There's so much more to explore.
But before we go there, I want to touch on a few more key ideas from the first part of the book.
Sounds good.
Ruiz talks about these three masteries: awareness, transformation, and intent.
Yes.
Can you break those down for us?
Well, they're like stages on the path to freedom.
Okay.
Awareness is about waking up to the reality of your situation, recognizing how you've been domesticated, how the parasite is operating, and how the four agreements can help you break free.
Okay.
Transformation is about actively challenging and changing those limiting beliefs and behaviors, putting those agreements into practice.
So awareness is seeing the problem.
Right.
Transformation is taking action to change it. What about intent?
Intent is the deepest mastery.
Okay.
It's about aligning yourself with the power of love and becoming a conscious creator of your own reality.
So it's moving beyond simply reacting to life and stepping into a place of deliberate creation.
Exactly.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there.
There is.
But one thing that really stood out to me was the warrior analogy. Ruiz talks about this fight to reclaim personal freedom.
Yeah.
It can feel like a constant battle against the parasite.
He describes it as a struggle against the forces that want to keep you trapped in the dream of the planet.
Right.
But even in defeat, he says, there's dignity in rebellion.
It's that never give up spirit that resonates with me.
It's about showing up, engaging in the process, and trusting that every step you take towards freedom is a step in the right direction.
Okay, so we've covered the concept of domestication, the four agreements, the Toltec path to freedom, and the idea of this internal parasite. It's been quite a journey.
It has. What's resonating most with you so far?
You know, I'm really struck by the idea that we have the power to choose our reality.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel trapped by circumstances or limited by our past, but Ruiz reminds us we always have a choice.
That's the beauty of his work. It's both profound and practical. It offers a framework for understanding your own mind, for breaking free from those limiting patterns, and for consciously creating a life that's aligned with your deepest values.
And it's not just a solo endeavor, is it?
Not at all. He emphasizes that we're all interconnected, part of this shared dream of the planet.
That makes me think about the ripple effect of our choices, how our actions impact not only ourselves, but the world around us.
Precisely. Our individual journeys are interwoven.
Yeah.
And our choices have the power to create a more loving and compassionate world.
This has been an incredible start to our deep dive.
It has.
There's so much more to uncover.
So much.
But I think we've laid a solid foundation.
Absolutely. We've just scratched the surface of the four agreements and the profound wisdom it offers.
And I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear more about this Toltec path to freedom. So much to explore.
So much.
Stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into the four agreements, where we'll continue this journey of self-discovery and explore the transformative power of Rui's teachings.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back. We've been exploring the profound ideas in the four agreements, and I'm eager to delve into another concept Ruiz introduces, the initiation of the dead.
That sounds pretty intense. Is he talking about a near-death experience?
Well, it's more of a philosophical approach, contemplating death, not in a morbid way, but as a teacher. Ruiz suggests that when we embrace the idea of our own mortality, we can actually start to appreciate the preciousness of life more fully.
I see where he's going with this. It's about letting go of those fears and attachments that keep us playing small.
Exactly. Recognizing that we could die at any moment helps us break free from that illusion of having endless tomorrows.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, those petty anxieties seem to fade, and we're more likely to focus on what truly matters.
Right.
Make choices that align with our hearts.
It's like a reset button.
Yeah.
Reminding us that this life is a gift, and how we choose to spend our time is incredibly important.
And by accepting the inevitability of death, we can actually start living more fully in the present moment.
It's a powerful shift in perspective.
It is.
So much of our suffering comes from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future.
Right.
But death reminds us that all we really have is now.
Ruiz takes this concept even further. He talks about the resurrection.
Okay.
A kind of rebirth that happens when we truly break free from the dream of the planet.
Okay, now we're getting into some deep territory. Tell me more about this resurrection.
He describes it as a state of being.
Okay.
Where we're no longer driven by fear, self-judgment, or the need for external validation.
Okay.
We finally shed those old limiting beliefs.
Right.
And step into our authentic selves, free to express who we truly are.
So it's not just about living each day to the fullest, but about fundamentally transforming our relationship with ourselves and the world.
It's about shedding those layers of conditioning, breaking free from the domestication we talked about earlier, and embracing a new way of being, a way of being that's rooted in love, joy, and freedom.
I think a lot of us are searching for that kind of liberation, that sense of coming home to ourselves. And the 4 agreements are like a map to help us navigate that journey.
Exactly. They're not just rules to follow,
Right.
but a framework for deep personal transformation.
And Ruiz emphasizes that this is a journey, not a destination.
It is.
It's not about achieving some perfect state of being, but about making a conscious effort day by day to align our thoughts, words, and actions with these principles.
It's like any skill.
Yeah.
The more we practice, the stronger we become.
Yeah.
And just like learning to ride a bike, there will be times when we wobble and fall.
We do.
But it's about getting back on, learning from those stumbles, and continuing to move forward.
That's such a great point.
Yeah.
We often get discouraged when we make mistakes or fall back into old patterns.
We do.
But this framework encourages us to be kind to ourselves, to see those moments as opportunities for learning and growth rather than failures.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Right.
And it's about recognizing that transformation takes time, patience, and a commitment to showing up for ourselves, even when it's challenging.
You know, one thing that really stood out to me in this section of the book was the importance of self-love.
Oh, absolutely.
Ruiz talks about how we can't truly love others until we learn to love ourselves first.
That's such a fundamental truth.
It is.
So much of the suffering we experience in relationships stems from a lack of self-love.
Yeah.
We seek validation and approval from others.
Right.
Because we don't feel worthy within ourselves.
And that can lead to all sorts of unhealthy patterns and dynamics.
Absolutely. But when we start to cultivate self-love, we begin to heal those old wounds and show up in our relationships from a place of wholeness and authenticity.
So how do we actually practice self-love? It's a concept that gets thrown around a lot, but it can feel really abstract.
It can.
Elusive.
It's about treating yourself with the same kindness and compassion you would offer a dear friend.
Oh.
It's about speaking to yourself with love and encouragement, acknowledging your strengths and accomplishments, and forgiving yourself for your mistakes.
That makes sense. It's like we often have such high expectations for ourselves, and we're so quick to criticize our shortcomings.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't treat a friend that way.
We wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's about extending that same grace and understanding to ourselves.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we're all worthy of love and belonging just as we are, imperfections and all.
And I imagine as we cultivate more self-love, it becomes easier to set healthy boundaries in our relationships.
It does.
And to attract people who treat us with respect and care.
Absolutely. When we value ourselves, we're less likely to tolerate mistreatment or settle for less than we deserve.
It's like we radiate a different energy.
Yes.
And that attracts a different kind of connection, one that's based on mutual respect, love, and support.
Exactly. Self-love is the foundation for healthy and fulfilling relationships.
So much of Ruiz's work boils down to this idea of taking responsibility for our own happiness.
He emphasizes that we have far more power than we realize to shape our reality. It's about recognizing that we're not victims of our circumstances, but rather creators of our own experience.
Which is a very empowering concept.
It is.
It means we're not stuck with the hand we've been dealt.
Right.
We can always choose to change our perspective, our beliefs, our actions.
And that's where the 4 agreements come in.
Right.
They provide a framework for making those changes.
Yeah.
For shifting our internal dialogue. And for consciously creating a life that aligns with our deepest values.
It's like we're learning a new language. A language of love, awareness, and personal power.
Exactly. And the more we practice this language, the more fluent we become.
And as we become more fluent, we begin to create a ripple effect.
We do.
Inspiring others to embark on their own journeys of transformation.
It's about creating a world where love, compassion, and understanding are the guiding principles.
And that's a beautiful vision to hold.
It is.
You know what really resonated with me in this part of the book? Was the idea that we're all interconnected. Ruiz talks about how we're all part of this universal energy, this web of life.
He emphasizes that our thoughts, words, and actions have an impact not only on ourselves, but on everyone and everything around us.
It's a reminder to be mindful of the energy we're putting out into the world.
Absolutely.
Because it does matter.
It does. We're all interconnected, whether we realize it or not.
Right.
And our choices, both big and small, have the power to create positive change.
It's like that saying, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Exactly. It starts with each of us taking responsibility for our own thoughts, words, and actions.
This has been such a rich and thought-provoking conversation.
It has.
And I think we've only just scratched the surface of the 4 agreements.
There's still so much to explore.
But before we move on, I want to pause here and give our listeners a chance to reflect on what we've covered so far.
This is a great idea.
Yeah, it's important to take time to integrate these ideas and to see how they resonate with you personally.
It is.
What stands out to you? What feels particularly relevant or impactful? We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can share your reflections on our website or on social media.
We're all on this journey together.
We are.
And we can learn so much from each other's experiences and insights.
And we'll be back soon for the final part of our deep dive into the 4 agreements. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the 4 agreements. It's been quite a journey exploring these powerful principles.
It has.
A lot of our listeners are probably wondering how to actually integrate these agreements into their daily lives.
Yeah.
It can feel a bit daunting. Where do you even begin?
That's a great question. And Ruiz offers some really practical advice.
Okay.
He reminds us that it's not about achieving instant perfection, but rather about making a conscious effort day by day to align your thoughts, words, and actions with these principles.
It's like building a muscle.
Exactly.
The more you practice, the stronger you become.
The stronger you become.
And like any new skill, there will be times when you stumble.
You will.
Or fall back into old patterns.
Right.
I know I've definitely caught myself making assumptions or taking things personally.
For sure.
Even after reading the book.
It's a process.
It is. It's a process.
It is.
So for our listeners who are ready to embark on this journey, what's one practical step they can take today to start integrating the 4 agreements?
Start with just one agreement.
Okay.
Choose the one that resonates most strongly with you or the one that feels like the biggest challenge.
So maybe you're really struggling with taking things personally, or perhaps you want to focus on being more impeccable with your words.
Exactly. Once you've chosen your agreement, spend some time really exploring its nuances.
Okay.
Read that section of the book. Again, journal about it, or even discuss it with a friend.
Yeah.
And then look for opportunities to apply it in your everyday life.
It's about making small conscious choices throughout the day.
Exactly. Maybe it's pausing before reacting to a coworker's email.
Right.
Clarifying with your partner instead of assuming you know what they're thinking.
Right.
Or simply noticing that negative self-talk and choosing to reframe it in a more positive light.
It's those little moments that add up over time and create lasting change.
They do.
Ruiz also talks about the importance of forgiveness.
Oh, yes.
Both forgiving ourselves and forgiving others.
It's a powerful practice.
It is.
Especially when we're holding on to resentment or guilt.
Right.
Forgiveness allows us to release those heavy emotions and move forward with a lighter heart.
It's not about condoning hurtful behavior, but rather about freeing ourselves from the burden of carrying that pain.
And sometimes the hardest person to forgive is ourselves. We can be so critical of our own mistakes.
We can.
Holding ourselves to impossible standards.
You know what? One of the things I appreciate most about the 4 agreements is its simplicity.
Yes.
These are profound concepts.
They are.
But they're presented in a way that's accessible and easy to understand.
And yet, their simplicity doesn't diminish their power.
Right.
These agreements have the potential to create profound shifts in our lives.
Yes.
If we're willing to put them into practice.
It's like they're a roadmap to a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
A life where we're no longer ruled by fear, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs.
A life where we can show up authentically, connect with others from a place of love, and create a reality that reflects our deepest values.
Beautiful.
That's a beautiful vision, and it all starts with those 4 simple agreements.
It does.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to pick up a copy of the 4 agreements and embark on this journey of self-discovery.
Explore these ideas, experiment with them,
Yeah.
And see how they transform your life.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
No, you don't.
We're all in this together.
We are.
Share your experiences with us.
Yes.
Connect with others who are on the same path. And let's create a ripple effect of love, awareness, and personal power.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it's inspired you to create a new dream for yourself, one that's rooted in joy, freedom, and authentic self-expression.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep choosing love.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Better Every Day. We hope you found some actionable insights to help you on your self-improvement journey. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on future deep dives. And if you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, small steps every day lead to big changes. See you next time.